Have you ever had one of those moments where the world just kinda stops? That was me, standing there like a statue, hidden behind the fried dough stand at the Harvest Days Carnival. My name's Jordan Reynolds. I'm 32 years old, a chef living in Asheville, North Carolina. Up until about an hour ago, I thought I was engaged to the love of my life. I had come to surprise Tessa. She told me not to bother, said it was just a boring work thing, nothing fun, all grease and stress. But something didn't sit right. Maybe it was the way she brushed me off so quick, or the way she shoved a duffel bag at me that morning, saying I should bring something casual, even though it was barely above 40 degrees outside. So I decided to come anyway, just to see, just to ease the gnawing in my gut. And that's when I saw her. Tessa. My Tessa. Her blonde hair pulled up in a messy bun, laughing that breathy little laugh she usually saved for when she wanted something. Only it wasn't me standing there with her. It was some guy from the food truck crowd, the one with the stupid man bun and tattoos crawling up his arms. They were tucked behind the beer garden, in one of those half-lit alleys near the generators. Hidden, but not hidden enough. I watched, heart hammering as she giggled and grabbed his jacket, pulling him down for a kiss. And not just a kiss either. Full-on making out, right there in public like no one could see them. Except I could. Pulled my phone out without thinking. Shaky hands, low light, but it didn't matter. I hit a record, just a quick clip, long enough to see her, to hear her whisper something I couldn't quite catch, but the tone was clear enough. Flirty. Intimate. Not the way you talk to someone you're just co-workers with. I should have marched right over there. Should have ripped her away from him and demanded an explanation. But I didn't. Instead, I ducked back behind the funnel cake stand, my breath steaming out in quick bursts. I crouched low, hidden by the crowd, my mind racing faster than my body could keep up. She told me not to come tonight. She practically begged me not to. Now I know why. I watched her stumble away with him laughing, arm tucked into his like it belonged there. And that's when it hit me. This wasn't a one-time thing. No one acts that casually unless it's familiar. Because tonight wasn't about saving a relationship anymore. It was about planning my next move. Driving home that night, the whole thing kept replaying in my head like a bad movie on a loop. Every little red flag, every weird conversation, it all started making ugly, painful sense. Earlier that week, when I asked Tessa if I could tag along to the food truck festival, she had wrinkled her nose like I'd suggested going to the dentist. "It's seriously boring, babe," she said, digging through her closet like the conversation was already over. "It's just a lot of sweaty guys arguing about propane tanks and profit margins. Trust me, you're better off staying home." I remember laughing it off at the time, teasing her about trying to spare me. She had just smiled that easy smile, the one that always made me forget whatever I was worried about. Besides, she added, "It's like really grimy this year. It's supposed to rain. Half the trucks are barely held together with duct tape." She tossed a hoodie at me. "You don't want to deal with all that mess." I should have listened harder. Should have caught the edge of panic behind her casual tone. Then there was the weird thing about the clothes. A day before the carnival, she made a big deal about how I should pack something, really laid back, in case I decided to swing by later, even though we both knew the weather had turned cold. "You don't want to look too dressed up if you do show," she had said. "Everyone's in ratty jeans and old sweatshirts." At the time, I thought it was sweet that she was thinking about me fitting in. Now it felt like a setup, like she wanted me to look ridiculous if I did come, like she had been planting. The idea that I didn't belong there with her, and the way she kept checking her phone that morning, quick little glances when she thought I wasn't looking. Nervous smiles, half-finished coffee. It wasn't just tonight. She'd been building this wall for weeks, maybe months, dressing it up as protecting me from boredom, from messiness, from the truth. The first cracks in our relationship weren't just new. They had been there for a while. I just hadn't wanted to see them. Until now. I should have just gone home and stayed there. But I didn't. Instead, I followed Tessa. After she and Man Bun Guy wandered off together, I hung back, slipping through the crowds like a ghost. I watched them climb into a beat-up pickup truck with a dented tailgate and peel off down a side road. I wasn't even thinking anymore, just pure instinct. I tailed them at a distance until they pulled up to this rickety-looking cabin about 10 minutes out of town. Looked like it belonged to somebody's weird uncle who never got around to fixing anything. There were trucks and old food carts parked around the lot, music thumping from inside, lights flickering like they were barely holding on. An after-party. Of course. I parked a little down the road and walked up slowly, keeping to the shadows. Inside, it smelled like spilled beer and burnt fryer oil. Tessa was easy to spot. She was already half drunk, her coat gone, wearing a tight tank top that didn't leave much to the imagination. She was sitting between Man Bun and another guy, a short, stocky dude with a backwards cap, giggling and twirling her hair while they practically draped themselves over her. Then somebody noticed me. A woman in a red flannel shirt and ripped jeans leaned against the kitchen counter, swirling a beer bottle lazily. "Hey there, stranger," she said with a crooked grin. "You with Tessa's crew?" I blinked. "Yeah, something like that." She sauntered over, giving me an obvious once-over. "You knew." She loves bringing new meat to these things. I forced a laugh, my skin crawling. Something like that. She stuck out her hand. "I'm Sam. I run one of the trucks." I shook it, feeling like I was operating my own body remotely. Sam smirked and nodded toward Tessa. "Don't worry about it, man. She's fun. We're all pretty open around here. No judgment. Open." The word echoed in my head like a gunshot. Sam laughed when she saw my face. "You didn't know. She's been having fun with like half the circuit. Travis, Mike, that guy over there." She pointed to Man Bun. "Hell, even Jenna once, I think. It's no big thing. No big thing." I thought I was going to throw up. Instead, I pulled my phone out and started recording again, sliding through the crowd, like a ghost catching snippets of conversation. Jordan would never find out because he was too good, too trusting. I snapped pictures too. She curled up between two coworkers, the way she kissed one guy's neck while laughing with the other, the way she poured herself another drink with a hand that wasn't even steady anymore. I didn't say a word. I didn't make a scene. I just gathered what I needed. Then I slipped back out into the cold night, letting the door swing shut behind me. I wasn't just hurt. I was angry. The next morning, I woke up early. No alarm, no snooze button, just wide awake with my heart pounding and my mind sharp as a knife. I grabbed my laptop, made coffee I barely tasted, and got to work. First thing I did was send everything, the videos, the photos, the voice clips, to my lawyer, Chuck Walters. I'd done some catering gigs for his firm in the past, and he always told me, "If you ever need a pit bull, call me." Today, I needed one. Chuck called me back within the hour. "You did the right thing, Jordan. Keep quiet for now. Let's do this clean. That was the plan. After that, I changed the locks on the apartment, took down all the shared utilities, canceled the gym membership she still piggybacked off of, even updated the emergency contacts at my work. By noon, Tessa was locked out of everything. Our home, our life, our future. The text started right around then. "Tessa, babe, why can't I get into the apartment?" "Tessa, are you mad at me?" "Tessa, Jordan, please answer, we can talk." I stared at my screen, feeling nothing. No sadness, no guilt. Just done. Then the calls started. I didn't pick up, not once. An hour later, her friends started coming out of the woodwork. First was Lexi, her old college roommate. "Lexi, you're overreacting." Tessa's. Just a free spirit. You should be happy she feels safe enough to explore. Then came Trevor, one of the food truck guys I used to think was decent. Trevor, man. You knew what she was like. It's not like you owned her. Apparently the lifestyle was the excuse of the day. Like that made it okay. Like that erased the betrayal, the lying, the years we spent building something she treated like a goddamn joke. I didn't respond to any of them. Just sat there on the couch, staring at the blank TV screen, feeling this weird, fierce calm settle over me. I realized I didn't have to fix everything. I didn't have to forgive or understand or compromise. I could just be done. I could choose me. When Chuck emailed later that afternoon confirming the first legal documents had been filed, I felt a pang of something unfamiliar. It wasn't sadness. It was freedom. I figured Tessa would throw a tantrum. I figured she'd cry and beg, and maybe even show up at the apartment with some half-baked apology. I didn't expect her boss to call. It was around 6 p.m. when my phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but something in my gut told me to answer. Jordan Reynolds. "Who's this?" I said flatly. "This is Travis Denton. I own Tessa's food truck. Tessa told me you two are having a little misunderstanding." I laughed once, sharp and humorless. "Is that what she's calling it?" He chuckled like we were sharing a joke. "Look, man, no reason for things to get messy. She made a few mistakes. We all do. Maybe we can work something out." I leaned back in my chair, feeling a slow burn crawl up my neck. Work something out? How? He cleared his throat. "Well, I know you've got some content. Stuff that could hurt reputations if it got around. Maybe it's better for everyone if you just let it go. And what are you offering, Travis?" "A little incentive," he said. "Cash. A non-disclosure agreement. Whatever you need. We're reasonable people here." I stared at the wall across from me, blank and silent, for a good 5 seconds before answering. "You think you can bribe me?" I said. "Not a bribe, man, just a friendly agreement." I stood up, pacing the living room slowly. "Here's my counteroffer. You, Tessa, and your whole little crew can look forward to a workplace harassment lawsuit. And if you think I won't sue the food truck company itself for emotional distress and hostile environment, think again." Travis sputtered for a second. "Now hold on." I hung up on him. 2 days later, things started unraveling for them faster than I could have imagined. Chuck had leaked the right evidence, just a few carefully chosen photos and videos, to some of Travis's biggest investors. Quietly, cleanly. No messy social media drama. Just private emails, sent straight to the people who had the most to lose. It didn't take long for the news to spread in their little world. The food truck's reputation took a nosedive. People started pulling funding, canceling contracts. I even heard through the grapevine that one of Travis's biggest festival gigs dropped them entirely after seeing concerning behavior reports. Tessa's name got dragged right alongside his. I didn't dance on their graves. I didn't post anything, online or gloat to my friends. I just sat back, drank my coffee, and watched the empire they had built on lies and betrayal start to crumble, one exposed truth at a time. It wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about making sure they knew they couldn't screw people over and walk away smiling. Not this time. It happened late on a Saturday night, just when I thought, maybe, things were finally quieting down. I was sitting on the couch in sweatpants, eating cold pizza straight from the box, half watching a rerun of some cooking show, when the banging started. Fists pounding on my front door, hard enough to rattle the frame. I froze for half a second, heart kicking up, then set down the pizza and grabbed my phone. I already had the security cameras rolling, installed them a week ago, just in case. When I checked the feed, I wasn't even surprised. Travis and some other guy, one of the Friar techs, I think, were standing there, both clearly drunk, swaying a little under the porch light. Travis had a baseball cap pulled low over his eyes, and his buddy kept shouting something I couldn't quite make out. I hit records on the cameras manually, just to be safe. Then I called the cops. While I was waiting, I cracked the window open just a bit to hear them better. "Come out, Jordan," Travis slurred. "You think you can ruin people's lives and just hide? You think you're some big shot now?" The other guy kicked the bottom of the door hard enough to make it jump in the frame. "Come out, you coward." I just leaned against the wall, arms crossed, phone still in hand. I wasn't scared. Not anymore. I was pissed, and smart enough to let them keep digging their own graves. It didn't take long. Maybe 10 minutes later, blue and red lights flooded the street. 2 squad cars rolled up, sirens off but lights spinning, and the officers jumped out fast. Travis tried to act tough for about half a second, yelling about false charges and setups, but when they reviewed the footage from my cameras and saw the damage to my door, it was game over. They cuffed both of them right there on my front porch. As they hauled them away, one of the cops turned to me and said, "You're smart for setting up cameras, sir. Most people don't think that far ahead." I just nodded. Learned the hard way. The next morning, their mugshots were all over the local news site. Drunk and disorderly. Attempted property damage. Trespassing. Watching it unfold from my kitchen with a fresh cup of coffee was probably the most peaceful I'd felt in months. They wanted a fight. Instead, they handed me the win on a silver platter. A few weeks after the arrests, just when the dust was finally starting to settle, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I picked up. It was a nurse from the county general. Calm, professional. She told me Tessa had been admitted after a medical emergency and that, according to their records, she was still listed on my insurance. She needed someone to authorize coverage for her treatment. For a minute, I just sat there, staring at the kitchen wall like it might offer some kind of answer. Then I sighed, grabbed my jacket, and drove to the hospital. I wasn't going because I wanted to see her. I wasn't going because I cared about what happened between us anymore. I was going because it was the right thing to do, and I wanted to make sure I didn't owe her, or anyone else, a damn thing after today. When I got to her room, she was curled up under thin white blankets, looking smaller than I ever remembered. Pale, eyes puffy from crying. There was a faint beep of machines in the background, and a half-eaten tray of hospital food sitting untouched on the table. When she saw me, her whole face crumpled. "Jordan," she whispered. I stayed by the door, hands shoved deep in my jacket. "Pockets. The nurse said you needed insurance confirmation. That's the only reason I'm here." She blinked rapidly, tears spilling down her cheeks. "I lost the baby," she said, almost inaudibly. "What baby, Tessa?" I asked. She swallowed hard. "I didn't know until a few weeks ago. I didn't even get a chance to tell you before everything." She broke off, wiping her nose with the back of her hand. I was scared. I screwed everything up. For a second, the old Jordan, the one who would have rushed to her side and forgiven anything, almost surfaced. But I shoved him back down. "I'm sorry for what you're going through," I said. "But there's nothing left between us." She shook her head desperately. "Please, Jordan, I was lost. I didn't mean to hurt you. I was stupid." "Yeah," I said quietly. "You were." She sniffled, looking so broken it almost hurt to look at her, but I forced myself to stand there, unmoving. "I could never trust you again, Tessa. You didn't just betray me. You lied. You used me, and then you threw it all away like it didn't matter. I didn't mean. It doesn't matter what you meant." I cut in. Sharply, "It matters what you did." I pulled out my wallet, handed the nurse at the desk my insurance card, signed the temporary authorization forms, and walked out without looking back. That was the last time I ever saw her. I didn't feel guilty. I felt free. That was almost a year ago. Life didn't magically get better overnight. I wasn't suddenly whole or healed just because Tessa was gone. Grief is weird like that. It doesn't leave quietly. It lingers in the corners, shows up when you least expect it. But little by little, I built a new life. I poured myself into work. I opened my own food stall downtown, a breakfast and brunch spot called Early Risers. It wasn't fancy, but it was mine. Real customers, real smiles, real hard work that made me proud at the end of the day. And that's where I met Mia. She wasn't flashy or loud, just this steady, calming presence who ran the small coffee roaster next to my stall. I remember the first time I noticed her, her sleeves pushed up, a smudge of flour on her cheek, arguing passionately with a supplier about Colombian beans. She caught me looking and smiled this easy, genuine smile that hit me right in the gut. I didn't ask her out right away. I wasn't ready for anything big. And honestly, I was scared. Scared of letting someone in. Scared of repeating old mistakes. But Mia, she made it easy. She'd drop off a muffin when she saw me burning the early morning hours. She started saving me a cup of coffee exactly the way I liked it. Dark roast, no sugar. Sometimes we sat together on the curb after closing, just talking about nothing. No pressure. No games. Real. Slowly, I found myself looking forward to seeing her every morning. Her laugh, her stubborn streak, the way she rolled her eyes when the espresso machine jammed. One evening after a long shift, she handed me a bag of leftover croissants and said, "You know, Jordan, not everyone's out to break you." I looked at her, the easy trust in her eyes. I believed it. We started small, coffee dates that turned into movie nights, walks around the farmer's market, late-night phone calls that stretched until the sun came up. Mia wasn't perfect. Neither was I. We both had scars. We both had walls. But she never asked me to be anyone but myself. And I never had to guess where I stood with her. We built something slowly, carefully, like two people who knew exactly how much damage a careless hand could cause. One night, sitting out on the patio behind the coffee shop, watching the summer rain, she reached for my hand without a word, and I realized this wasn't just moving on. This was healing. This was what love was supposed to feel like. Not chaos, not betrayal, not heartbreak, masked as passion, just quiet, steady, enduring respect, and a future that felt real. After everything that had been taken from me, after everything I had survived, I had finally found something, someone, worth trusting again. And this time, I wasn't letting go. Subscribe and stay one step ahead of cheaters. And trust me, the next story makes this one look like a fairy tale.